Hello, my name is Ramon. I'm with Select Beauty Products and Symphony Shears, Apparel and Capes. Today I'm going to go over two basic type of blenders that you're going to see out in the field. The first one is more of traditional, where the teeth have a flat edge on there so that you can go, when you edge them, and put a bevel edge, or if you're a convex guy, you can do a convex edge, whatever you feel comfortable with. The second type of blender are what I call either step teeth, or some people call them dragon teeth. You can't see them if you get really close, but what you'll have is you'll have a tooth goes down, another tooth, and down. So it has steps or little points. And with this type of blade, you can't put a bevel on there because you're gonna wipe out these tips. So you have to do something else. We're gonna go over what you can do to create an edge without wiping out these steps or the dragon teeth. Now I'm gonna give you just a brief tour of the tools I use. Now, I don't sell machines. I've got a mishmash of everyone's machines. Is my machine perfect? Probably not. Do other people's have better machines? Maybe. I love my machines. They do what I need to do. Again, very basic. So also, if when I show you this, is my room a little messy? I know where everything is within 3 square feet. I'm not delivering babies. So here goes the tour. This is my rapid edge machine, but what's key is, of course, I love the arm. And later you'll see this little device I put on here. I don't lock it in. I hold the blade with this so I can easily move it back and forth, look at it, take it apart, saves me time. This machine right here, this is a Ray Pope machine, very lovely, along with his wheel. This is my honing wheel, and also my negative hone. Obviously it's hone is hone. Love, love, love Dennis Brooks straightening bar. I love the length, I like the width, I like the thickness. Beautiful bar. Can't live with that. If I lose this, I'm done. My little cheater stick. You'll see what the cheater stick is for and why we call it a cheater stick. My brass blending block. Very important. Love it. My washers, made in USA. Awesome. These washers make a bad scissor good, a good scissor very good, and a very good scissor, amazing. This can be a bridge version because obviously I took the blender apart. I cleaned the outside, I cleaned inside the screw hole. The next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check the alignment. Now, alignment, I've done that in another series, and there'll be another class that talks about alignment. So when you see me fiddling on this, I'm taking care of business, and my goal here is to show you really blender's negative angle and the tricks of making them cut, not an alignment class. But you know, you'll see me doing some basic alignments. I look at this and I look up in the light. I can see everything looks good except for the tip. The tip has a flat spot. So I'm gonna give it a little more bow at the end. But first, I'm gonna take a little bend out and then bend back in so I don't just have a whip at the tip. Out, 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 out. And I'm gonna bring it in right here. Check this out. I need to bring it in a little more. A little bit. Oh, I put too much bow in. That's okay though. No, that's perfect. Next, I'm going to check the alignment of the tooth blade. Okay, I look at this, and what do I see? I see that it's just dead nuts flat all the way down. There's no spring, there's no nice curvature. So there are two things I could do. I could use a little hammer with a curved die, tink, tink, tink. But in this case, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little bending in the back. So obviously you can always risk breaking these, but you have to be very careful. So I'm gonna go right in front, what I call the nail hole or the screw hole. Just gonna do a little bendy, about an inch, half inch in front, not too much. I just wanna give it a nice, rather than flat, a nice little curve. And I look at it and I can do a little bit more, Being very gentle though. All right. This looks pretty good. So when I'm looking at it, I see a little bit of light. And when I squeeze, it closes. Step 2 is I'm going to hone the shear. Pressure on the back. I look at it. It looks very, very nice. Putting out a little more pressure in the middle, not the tip. Because if you have this perfectly aligned, it acts like a spring. So when you hit the middle, it's going to hone nicely at the tip, also in the back. So first I start in the back, just make sure that the alignment is good, and then I can look at it to make sure I'm not wiping out the tip. Once that's good, I put it down, put pressure in the middle, squeezes it down, and it gives me a nice little hone. And you can't see it, but it's a beautiful hone. It's even all the way down the blade. My next step is edging the blade, and I have mine set to about 50 degrees. And I use a bevel edge. You can also do a convex edge, whatever you're comfortable and whatever you're good at. We always did bevel edges because we knew exactly what the edge angle was. I'm talking about the old RE Cycler company, and we were doing thousands at a day. We had a assembly line process, so it gave us continuity. We knew exactly, every person, no matter who did it, what the angle is. Kick up the burr, perfect. I edge the outside, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hone it once again, kick the burr up the other side. Very nice. And then I'm going to go on my Suba pad, and I'm going to deburr again with this nice fixture, same angle of edge I put on. This is what I deburr with. Nice and smooth. I finished doing the solid blade. I basically honed it, put the edge on, honed it, and then deburred it. And I've got a beautiful flat hone, great edge. Next, I'm gonna work on the tooth blade, and I'm gonna go flat on there. What I'm doing here is I'm establishing a nice little ride line and making it a nice flat hone, because now you can feel that it's pretty sharp. And this will come to play later on when we have these jagged dragon teeth, is what I call them. So I did it nice and flat. Now the next key is putting the negative hone on there. So negative hone, meaning rather than flat, I do a slight little angle, work all the way on the back ride line, start back here all the way across. So I'm creating a negative hone. So after I put the hone line and the negative hone on the blade, these teeth are flat. So I can just put a bevel edge on there and follow it. Most of the time, rule of thumb, I do about 50 degree, or I look at it and kind of match what it has. Obviously, if it doesn't match what I have, I don't want to create too wide and create what I call railroad tracks where there's a really wide bevel. So we'll see what gives here. I'll set it to my 50 degrees. I'm gonna run it across. A little tester, and it's perfect. Ran it across, kicked up a burr. What I did with the tooth blade is I put a flat hone on there. Gets it nice and flat. Also gives a little nice sharp edges on here. And then I created a negative hone. And why a negative hone? It's because when you have two normal shears, two flat blades, very nice, go back and forth very easily. But anytime you introduce a regular blade with a tooth blade, you have a tooth gap, and sometimes you'll go tooth gap and you'll hit a tooth hard and it'll crunch. So you need to put a little negative angle in there to create a nice smooth run. So not a flat hone, but a negative one, so it runs nice and smooth the teeth. That's also included the notching shears. More importantly, notching shears, because you have a big giant gap, hits a tooth, big giant gap, hits a tooth, you want to run smoothly. So hopefully I'm not going to touch anything. If my set's correct, if on my solid blade, this is good, the outside edge is good. If I finished this amazingly and I put a nice, not too severe negative angle and I edged it correctly, it should be great. But there's some little tricks though still. So first thing I'm gonna do, because I did put an edge on there, I kicked up a burr. Here's where I take my cheater stick. I'm gonna run it kind of just across at a negative angle to kick the burr the other way around. So I put the blending shear together and I gently spread them apart a little bit. Then I open them, then I close them because I don't want the blades digging to each other too much. And one thing that I always do as a safety valve, some stylists, they'll shove their thumb all the way in the hole. That creates a really hard side pressure, particularly back here in the pivot. And then what'll happen is it'll hit hard, tooth gap, crunch. So in order to do that, I just machine, while the scissors together, just the first 2 or 3 edges, I put a really pretty severe negative hone on there. That way, if they do crush in the back, it's not gonna hang up. Feels great. Let's see if it cuts. Viva towel. Some people say it's like cutting wood, but if it cuts this, and I think in all my other videos, it can cut hair. But we're gonna do another test on top of that, just to make sure that it's the perfect blending shear. So I'm gonna cut with 0 side pressure, down. You can't see, but right here's my cut. Look at every tooth. Perfect. Next, you can either use real hair. This is a rabbit felt, and it may cut easily in the back, which it always does, but the true test is that it cuts at the tip. Oh, guess what? It's snagging at the tip. Am I defeated? No. So, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the cheater stick, because what's probably happened is I threw the burr that way. Now I'm gonna take the cheater stick and I'm gonna, oh gosh, I can't see. Okay, I'm gonna go across the teeth, kind of hear it, pretty right at the tip. Again, careful open close. Now let's see what happens. Still catching. Well, next tip. I'm showing this because I don't want to bend anything yet. So first are the steps that you can do without having to bend the shear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my solid blade and run it across my Suba, or if you have a buffing wheel, to deburr it. Okay, since you were gone, which you really weren't, because I put it on pause, I deburred the edge, nice and smooth. And now let's see if it cuts. See if that does it. No, it catches a little bit. So you can tell when you close it, that right maybe late at the very end, there's a little bit of drop off. And I thought I had the perfect set, but sometimes you just have to go with your feel. You do the preliminary set, and then if it doesn't work, you do a little bit of tweaking. So I'm gonna do a little bit of tweaking. Right at the tip, just a little bit. Not much, because you don't want to break these. See what happens now. Tip. Oh, perfect. You cut, you pull, and there's no snag. Love it. And you can see also on the Viva, perfect cut. The next blending shear that I'm going to do is the one that has those kind of stepped up teeth, or those dragon teeth. And this is something that you don't want to edge on the outside with a bevel. So we're going to use reinforced cross stitch buffing wheel, or any buffing wheel that you have, or you use some resin rouge. You can create a burr, but here what's important is that you create a really nice flat inside hone before you do your negative. So you have a nice flat hone on the inside. It's going to create a nice cutting surface for these little teeth. Of course, the first step again is checking the set. This particular, it's a longer shear, I think it's maybe a 7-inch, has way too much bow. Obviously larger shears, sometimes you want a little more bow because you need more leverage, particularly at the tips, for the blades to meet, but it's still too much bow. I'm gonna take a little bit out. Just take a little bit. Let's pull out, 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 out. Take a look. Oh yeah. That looks perfect. Next, I'm gonna hone it. I just finished with, of course I put the set in, I put on my hone, I edged it, I honed it again, and then I deburred it, take the burr off. Looks good. So next, we're gonna work on this tooth, look at the set again, I'm gonna look up, and to me it looks too flat. We need a little bit of cushion. You don't do this all the time, but I do it because that's how I do it. But a lot of people are afraid to bend. I'm very gentle bending. So I'm just gonna put a little bit. It's a little longer shear, so I'm gonna go a little further down the tooth line, maybe about 1 inch. Now I'm gonna look. And now, yeah. Looks good. I got nice, looking through the light. See a nice little springboard. Like open, I close, I squeeze down. Looks perfect. So next is my hone. On my flat wheel. Going flat, flat, flat. Just working on pressure right here on the nail hole. Pressing down. I look at it. See how she looks. Looks good, 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 good. And next I'm going to put a little pressure again in the middle. So first do pressure in the back. It looks good all the way down. And I want to make sure I'm not wiping out the tips, but if the set is good, you're not going to wipe out the tips. Then putting pressure in the middle. And now I can feel how nice and sharp these teeth are, particularly if you can see, whoops, let's go this way. I don't know if you can see these things, but they're little jagged little teeth on here that you do not want to grind flat. So next, rather than flat, I'm gonna put a little negative. I'm exaggerating, but a negative hone, not a flat hone, but a negative hone. But I'm gonna do very, very gentle, all the way in the back, slightly off. Boom. And I always look to see that I did not wipe out the tips. So with the special teeth, the step teeth or the dragon teeth, I don't want to put a bevel on there because it would just wipe out those little teeth. But what I did do is we had a nice flat hone. So these little teeth on the inside, they're sharp. So what I'm going to do, and you can use a normal buffing wheel. We have more of a heavier duty buffing wheel, the cross stitch. And the reason why we have cross stitch is because, you know, we're doing 200, 300, 400 a day. It'll tear it up. Obviously, when you're doing repairs on the road, you're not gonna be doing that many a day. So a regular circular buffing wheel will do. So basically, I'm just taking this and I'm doing two things. I am getting rid of that burr that we created by honing, and by doing this as well, you're kind of putting an edge on there. So it does make it nice and sharp. I put the shears together and I keep them open because when I used that buffing wheel and deburred it, I'm basically creating an edge on there. So what I want to do is I want to use my cheater stick and go on the inside and break that burr off. Open, close, closes wonderfully. Now let's take our Viva test. Cuts nice. You can see again, cuts at the tip. Well, maybe you can't see, but this was the, all right. Here, that long one was the Viva test, and that's without any side pressure. And just to try it for kicks, love the rabbit. Obviously that, if it works on that, it's gonna work on hair, but this is the true test. It snags. So what are we gonna do? Well, let's first things before we do any kind of bending. What do we need to do? Let's go deburr the edge. It's probably a burr kicking up. What I did when we tested before, on the very end, it wasn't cutting the rabbit fur. Now, it did cut through the suba fine, and if you're cutting coarser hair, fake hair, or even regular hair, it should do fine, good. But I always do the rabbit test. It's probably extreme, but when it does that, you know it does human hair perfectly. So what I did is I went again and buffed or created like an artificial edge, but this time I didn't use the wheel. I decided, hey, I'm gonna use my suba pad. And then I cleaned it up and it cut pretty good, but not to my standard. So then what did I do? I called it the twist of death. What is the twist of death? Something very, very dangerous. What you're doing is you're taking the tip of your blade and you're putting it in, and you're not only bending it, but you're twisting, creating a rake angle on the inside. The problem is, one, you could break the shear, or two, if you put too much twist in there, you can't get it out. It's gonna run terrible and rough. So you have to be just very light. And have I boogered up some shears? Yeah, but I do so many of them that I know exactly how much pressure to do the kiss of death. So I did just very easy, a little twist, the last two teeth, and then I tried on the rabbit fur. Poof, perfect, love it. In summary, what I did is how we have always done in the factory. We've had a lot of practice with it. When you're out in the field Generally, the shears aren't as bad a shape as the ones I have here. So many times the shears you get, the set's pretty good, the alignment's pretty good. So you just have to do on the tooth blade a flat hone, a little negative. You can also do a negative hone either on a flat hone, and you can create your negative hone. You can use a cheater stick, that can work as well. And there are many ways of doing it. So I'm showing it my way. The bending part, very dangerous. You can break things, so warning. I hate for somebody to go, oh, this is how Ramon does it, it snaps, and you get upset because you kind of know and you feel when you've done enough if it has give or not. And I can a lot of times look at a shear by either the brand or where it's made to determine whether I can bend it. And even then, if I have doubts or I think I can do it, I'll start bending, and you just had that feel. So I guess practice. Also, I know other instructors that have done super classes with blenders. I think they're super. I've never seen them, but I'm sure they're great. There's always multiple ways of doing things. So go practice. If you need any help, please call me and we'll have a live session after this video, and I'll answer your questions. Appreciate it. Thank you.